What triggers you the most when it comes to political discussions? The stupid insults in the form of nicknames. Libturds, Trumpsters, etc. Any kind of juvenile insult people throw at each other instead of having an adult discussion. When people say, people who voted for insert person, party, concept they don't like, shouldn't be allowed to vote. When it just immediately devolves into personal attacks against each other. So few people can have constructive conversations regarding politics these days. It's sad. People who brand actual evidence as fake, and stuff they find on Facebook as unquestionable fact. Willful ignorance. I have primary sources, and they refuse to listen or watch. It's frustrating. You can't have a discussion if facts are considered irrelevant. People who just regurgitate sound bites and cannot give any detail to their arguments. I didn't want to talk politics in the first place. It pisses me off when someone calls me a paid member of some political party because I happen to disagree with the point they are making. No solutions are obtained. Everyone just strokes their ego and calls it a day. People who flat out say, "You can't change my mind." Okay, then why are you still here? Leave. I have an open mind. If I'm wrong or my opinion changes, it's gonna change. But if you just ain't gon' believe shit because you have your closed mind, I'm gonna flip the fuck out 'cause this is a discussion. And I'm not gonna baby your fucking ego. Huge generalizations about social groups, political parties, communities. It hurts my brain to think that people are comfortable extending a biased and subjective belief on thousands of people without thinking twice. Oh, you don't fully support my narrow and specific political opinion? Sheep. Quote. Triggers? Nothing anymore. Willful ignorance for the sake of satisfying preconceived biases used to bother me, but it's just a fact of life now. People who see some flaw in a system then think the opposite spectrum would somehow fix those flaws. And have a perfect system. People who think those who disagree with them are at the other end of the political spectrum. People who can only reason in either or. When it's clear people have zero regard for any other people or actively want to hurt people they don't agree with. I'll never forget a Reddit thread during the protests where my stance was people shouldn't run over people or shoot drivers trying to drive around protesters, and was getting argued with heavily. To my stance of, hey, killing people is bad and we shouldn't do it, was met with the response of, well, what if I think they deserve it? From so many people on both sides. What the fuck? Realizing how many people don't think I'm a person. That given half a chance they'd kill me and think the world is better off. Anyone who just shrugs off another person's suffering. We can argue facts all day, but I can't teach empathy. The level of violent opposition each side has toward each other. People have completely lost the ability to disagree with someone without hating them. There is almost no room left for political discussions in any context. People who hate Israel, claiming Jews worship Lucifer, drink the blood of Palestinian children. I often claim I'm from Poland XD. Saves me a lot of drama. Just because you don't agree with everything a politician did doesn't mean you get to ignore the objectively good things they did. It's not right to act as if your side has done no wrong and the other side is a hell spawn. People who don't know much but act like they do. Like, okay, I don't know much either. But I don't act like I fucking do. And the ones that go like, I know this is true. I read it on Facebook. 1. Whataboutisms. Ignoring something really bad by deflecting to some other political figure. Typically from an opposing political party. doing something really bad, thereby letting your preferred political figure completely off the hook. 2. Refusing to critique anyone within their preferred political party. When people refuse to assume that the other side genuinely believes what they're arguing, it usually ends up being some variant of, my side is moral and intelligent. Therefore everyone who disagrees is either immoral or unintelligent. A common variation is assuming that there's some sort of Freudian mental defect on the other side that prevents them from behaving rationally and seeing how much better you are. People who get all their information from social media and don't ever verify it. I'll admit, I'm Gen Z and get a lot of my preliminary things from social media. But I never say anything that's given to me until I've researched it and formed my own opinion. People who have actually no idea what they're talking about and just speak from others' mouths. Because they can't construct their own thoughts, let alone do their own research. I'm 17, like I should be too young to be bothered by this. But it's just FC King annoying. People who won't acknowledge when they aren't educated on a topic and act like they can make meaningful commentary on things they don't understand. People who try to pigeonhole the entirety of politics spectrum into right-wing versus left-wing game. Anytime when certain logical fallacies are used as primary arguments. As homonym. Appeal to emotion. Appeal to ridicule. Especially appeal to ridicule. Cherry-picking data. Apples to oranges. And of course, straw man. These are the most common I see in any political discussion. And usually the person who uses them acts all smug as if they used a draw 4 card in Uno. And then when called out about it, they double down. It ticks me off because no actual discussion can happen. When people take a side without doing research on both. Seriously, how do you know if that candidate is better if you know nothing about the other? People who vehemently claim to be centrists when they consistently make partisan arguments in talking points. Common sense, that's mostly just opinions presented as fact. Using religious justification in your arguments. Not that the opinion doesn't matter or isn't valid, but it's not productive and will just create hurt feelings. People not listening to the other side of the discussion. Politics should be about finding solutions that can benefit all. Not some dick measuring contest. There's a very, very clear divide between someone's values and their character. People do genuinely want what's best for everyone. But they're going to prioritize their family, selves first and only have one limited perspective. And #X200B. Political conversations, from racism to economic policy, quickly devolve into character attacks. If everyone enters the discussion with the assumption 95% of the others also ultimately want what's best, then the outcome will be far more productive. People who are offended instantly by the fact someone disagrees with them. It's great to have an argument or conversation, but when you dismiss someone as a bigot or a racist, without putting thought towards their argument, you definitely come off as a tool. As someone on Reddit, what I most often come across in Americans not respecting different values in Europe. Socialized healthcare, our free speech laws, our gun laws, etc. I got someone who acted offended that I am happy in my country? Also the constant expectation that I know everything about American politics as if they know anything about my country. Exceptionalism. A failure to see that things do not have to either or. For example, complaining about refugees being given somewhere to live when there are homeless people living on the street. The lack of examination of why anyone is homeless is just baffling to me. People who believe that if the government officially says something, then it must be 100% truth. Like the government has never lied to us before. Anyone who is against abortion. But is also pretty pissed that I had my daughters without being married. I'm really not sure what other options they thought I had. Like you can't marry someone if they didn't propose to you. Don't want to marry you, etc. Anything that involves generalization. It kills any debate it sticks its ugly head in. People who yell terms at you instead of hearing you out or responding with an argument. Calling someone X because they don't agree with you doesn't prove your opinion. It makes you look like a dumbass. People who ignore all of U.S. history prior to current events. Because if we want any chance of fixing our problems, we need to understand how we got here in the first place. People who say, "That's your opinion," when I cite multiple peer-reviewed scientific research papers. Then they proffer their opinions contrary to those papers without evidence or anything more than anecdotes. The shitbag. Holier than thou. Apolitical, neutralist. Who tries to shut it down for everyone's benefit. Guys. Come on. Do we really have to get all political? Man, really. Both sides are dumb and Joe Rogan should be president. They oughta do more to meet in the middle. We don't always have to argue. Because healthy argument is mentally stimulating, and if you don't decide on politics, someone else will decide for you. Also, everyone has an opinion. You're just too much of a pussy to voice yours. Socialists. It's never worked and yet they go on and on about it. Lying about facts. I would much rather deal with a guy who admits, for example, that he's a selfish monster who believes we should shoot refugees at the border, as opposed to slandering refugees as thieves and rapists or whatnot by making up fake stats. People who believe only their side is intelligent and insult those who disagree. Doesn't matter if they are left or right. I see people in discussions all too often thinking the opposing side is less intelligent just because they have a different view, belief. You have your beliefs and your reasons, and they have their beliefs and reasons. Don't ridicule another human based on your feelings and political stance. People that think they understand how someone of a different gender, nationality, race, etc. feels about a subject because they had a few conversations. Glad your conversations make you think you are qualified to talk for me. But that's not how it works. What about thism? Just because one country is bad doesn't justify others' country actions. The phrase, "it's just common sense," tells me they don't want to consider ideas that challenge how they were programmed.